Hi everyone, my name is Randy Gilson. A lot of people call me Randyland. Randyland is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and before I started Randyland, the art gallery, I started Old Allegheny Gardens Society. 1982, I moved to the neighborhood. It's the Mexican Wall Street area of the Mexican Wall Street of Old Allegheny City. At that time, there were a lot of empty lots and a lot of things needed to be adjusted. Art was not here. Gardenings were very few. And I decided to take this big empty lot I'm about ready to walk you through and build Old Allegheny Garden Society. 1982 was a great year. It was the beginning that I opened up my mind and my heart and taught myself that I was not only a dreamer, but a doer, an achiever, and I was available to teach myself the journey of happiness, my soul searching, my possibilities, all of my future. 30 years ago when I built this started at this location in the community gardens. They were once empty lots. The weeds were as tall as I stand, and there was a cow pathway, not a lot to offer, but I just decided to take all the houses being torn down. There were thousands of the stones, whole brick, half brick, Belgian block, flagstone, winter lentils, and a lot of other materials being hauled away in the many trucks. And I decided to take my dolly or my old car, one by one, day by day, 100 things turned to 1,000,000 things, turned to 1,000,000,000,000 things, who knows? And I eventually built the Old Allegheny Garden Community Garden. I'm no longer involved with the community garden. I decided to stop this about 10 years ago and do the Randyland project. But of course, this was the beginning of the Randyland project. It taught me to recycle, to not challenge what higher power and God gives me, but to take the small little pieces of the puzzle that I have been given in 1982, to place them side by side, to place them forward, to build a park, a community garden, which have now 50 vegetable gardens. And this taught me, so when I bought my home, it was an old grocery store, that I could go ahead and take the same kind of ideas, recycling my paints and my same materials of bricks and cobblestone and so forth. So this is actually the beginning of my journey of 1982. But I just wanted to point this out. I wouldn't be the man I am today without this garden. Now other people are in the garden. They have now adopted her. She is so happy. She is growing. And there's not enough spaces for all the people that want to be in it. Where when I first started, I couldn't get folks in it. But now, through the many, many years, there are many, many, many great people that are loving Earth, gardening, taking care of her, and helping them to grow. Well, let's stop talking and let's take a tour of Old Allegheny Gardens in the Pittsburgh area, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I hope you enjoy the tour. All right, let's go. This here is a sign that I put up to welcome people to Old Allegheny Gardens. I wanted to make sure that people saw the beginning, and that way people would see it as a festive place. A lot of kids came by one day. One of the church groups were available, so I had a yellow fence. People wanted to know where I was all the time, so I painted the fence yellow first of all, and then that was my aura, so that I would make people feel that I was there all the time, even though I wasn't. And then when the church groups came over, I went ahead and the kids needed to have something to do, so I started letting them do stenciling on the fences. I had done some of it, and then letting them jump in, and boy did they do a good job. These stones were some of the first stones that I ever placed out here in the front of the gardens. There are a lot of things that are taken for granted that are being thrown away. I decided to gather them. This is a Yoshimo cherry tree. This is the first tree I ever planted in the garden, so I would say that this is, well, my child. It's a beautiful Yoshima cherry tree that has now grown as wide as I am. That's enough of that conversation. So the community garden is here, and as you walk up and down the streets, you can see the beautiful houses lined with all the cars and the people, but the garden wasn't abandoned. I guess 4 houses had burnt down here at one time, and so we went ahead and the fence was put up here a long time ago by the mayor, and then they were hoping that other people would come in and do gardening. It really just never took off, and so I decided that I would go into this giant space and try to help it grow. So I won't take too much of your time up, but I just wanted to show you how we took the old sidewalks and put the fence in there, of course it was there, and put the stones in the front to give it that welcome look. Okay, here we go. Let's go inside and see what we have in here. And the first thing I did was build a little plaza because I wanted to have the entranceway to be safe. And then I put down a giant pathway in the middle. It was a pretty bad, narrow pathway. And so I lined it with a lot of cobblestone and window lintels. They have since rebuilt the beautiful pathway and done a really nice job here. A lady by the name of Jenna Thompson is a wonderful angel. She's done a great job here. So this is the community garden. A lot of the old stone, there's a lot of terracotta I had gathered from all the buildings in the area that were being torn down, and I put a lot of the stone in here that I had found in the various places to teach people recycling of architecture. So that was a cool way to do the gardens, to take what was available for free. Now many people compete for the garden. This is actually my first garden. I talked about the Yoshima cherry tree. This was my flower garden. It was the first garden I built. And then I built this second garden over here on the right. This was my vegetable garden. And these are my same shrubs that I had placed in here. And those little Alberta spruces, I remember when I bought those for probably $2.50. And now they are giant, mammoth, beautiful plants. Over here, I can see that a lot of people have a lot of pride in this garden. There's a lot of beautiful flowers that have since been planted. It's a welcome for me to know that all my stones are still here. Let me see, you can't really see them all. But I remember placing all these stones. This was the beginning of my journey, the pathways. And as you see, I'm just going to take a little bit of a gaze. Look how full the trees are. I planted this tree here as well, and oh my goodness gracious, it's actually the last tree of the garden. It's probably 15 feet high. This is Robin Mazzarelli's garden here. Robin Mazzarelli is actually a community gardener. She went through a master gardening program, and anyway, so now she is the master gardener, and she helps a lot of people with the questions about gardening and so forth. So she's been in this garden, oh my goodness, 25 years or something? Maybe longer than that, I'm not sure. But Robin's been a real gem. She has done a great job. I'm looking at these pathways, and it's interesting. When I first put all the stones in it, I was telling a lot of folks that they could actually adjust a lot of the stones. Some folks have, but a lot of people, whoop, there's that butterfly. See if I can catch it. Oopsie daisy. Anyway, a lot of folks have changed the gardener, but some folks have just left him alone. This is my little pyramid. I put pyramids in here, all those years ago. There was a big tree in here, but because the garden being so full, they don't need that tree anymore, so we took it out. But wow, I could see lots and lots and lots of flowers and lots of wonderful things growing. You have your tomatoes, your eggplant. The first time I saw a peanut plant was in here. The first time I saw an okra plant was in here. It's just an amazing garden. There's a lot of creativity. It's a place for therapy. It's a place for tranquility. It's a place for just peace. this here, actually, when they built the garden, I built the garden, I went ahead and I placed a stone down in the center, and I was very worried about this when they put in the new stones, and thank God they put it back, because that's the heart to me of the garden, and I had found that stone a long time ago, and I wanted it there. I built a yellow brick road. I kind of came in at nighttime from 5 o'clock on, and I built this giant yellow brick road. I had gathered all these yellow stones, and I placed them all along the back wall of the garden so that you would be able to get into the garden from various places, so you'd have many ways in and out. Over here, this is Jenny's garden. Jenny is not here anymore, but Jenny had a lot of berries, so I remember the story of Jenny. I remember finding this old piece of metal, and I made it into a bench, and I can see that they're recycling that, and oh wow, what a beautiful, beautiful garden pathway this is turning out to be. It looks like maybe a new gardener doing construction, and I'm seeing that this here is actually a garden going through construction right now, and it looks like raised beds, so they're going to be planting some fun things there soon. This is one of Jenny's sculptures. Before she left, she had tied up all this tomato plants, and it looks like there's art in the back of this one. I remember bringing this stone in here. This I will never move again, but this is an old step from someone else's house, and they were throwing it away, and I found it and brought it in here. Now this garden that I walked through, it's a sister garden across the street, so there are actually two gardens here. The gardens hold about 50 gardeners, and there's 16 gardens on both plot, and then a lot of times the gardens are actually cut in half so that many people will be able to share a buddy garden. So a lot of folks can't do the whole thing by themselves, but they need to have a friend. Well, we went ahead and we took this old sidewalk and the stones, and again, Jenna, the garden captain now, she's done a terrific job in helping this garden grow. A lot of new stones have been placed now on the outside. I remember having a giant water trough here. It was a good thing. And over here, we have again the welcome sign on this side, so we want people to know, welcome to Old Allegheny Gardens. This is Old Allegheny City, and we wanted to bring back the history of the people that built this area. Isn't it a beautiful flower bed all the way around? It's very, very attractive, and they do a very good job now keeping all the flowers. Some folks just want flowers, so they're able to have the garden in the entranceways, while other folks that want to have vegetables, they'll go ahead and they get the plots on the inside and so forth. Here we go. Take a quick gaze through all of these here. Nice, very nicely done. Over here is where we have the water, so that we can water the plants in the tough times. Of course, you have your hose area, and yeah, I just remember these stones here. So many of these stones, the thousands of stones I see here now. I had put so many of these stones in this garden that it actually, I guess I'm the grandfather of the gardens, being that I had started them so many years ago. I should say one thing very important. There was a very, very, very important lady, Leslie Ward. Leslie Ward helped this second garden. I would say she was the mother of the garden on this side. As I did Old Allegheny Garden Society, I put 800 gardens in the neighborhood, 50 vegetable gardens, and 8 parks. So I built this garden as only one project. Well, Leslie Ward, she was in here, and she started working so hard so many years ago, and oh wow, I love that lady. She is an ambassador, and she would be, if I'm the grandfather, she has got to be the grandmother of the gardens. Again, you know, people do come and go in community gardens, so that way, you know, people do change their path. This is, I forget what kind of a tree this is, but I remember a gentleman by the name of Rob Sessa planted this tree in the middle of his garden, and I tried to cut this tree out twice, 3 times, because I didn't want the roots to go into the community garden. But guess what? The tree keeps coming back over and over and over. And so now, I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they'll leave the tree in the garden. It is actually a beautiful tree. I just worry about the shade of it. There you go. Walk through the garden. A lot of folks know what gardens are, so I don't want this to be a boring tour. But I just want to show you that the stones along the pathway, that you can go ahead and you can do all kind of landscaping with just stuff that you find recycled and so forth. Don't throw things away too fast, okay? The trellis back there, that grapevine has actually been back there. I bet you that's been back there for over 20 years or more, and that was built on a ladder. I remember when that was first built many years ago. And now people bring in pieces of architecture. There's an interesting looking iron fence here. And I should say, because I know this lady well, this is Martha's garden. Martha had the first roses of the garden, and she's very, very, very particular about her roses. So I know that Martha would like for me to mention her name. Over here, we had compost in the past. Of course, without people taking care of them, they had to be removed. So now people compost their individual selves. I had a piece of fence here, a very, 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 very dear friend of mine by the name of Gwen Moorer. I've known Gwen since I began this garden, probably 1982, 1983. So I gave Gwen a nice piece of fence that I had, and she actually has a double garden here. Well, Gwen and her mother just passed recently, is an avid gardener, an amazing woman. She comes in here every day, and she has so many plants. What a beautiful, beautiful community garden she has here. And I do want to say on the back of the gardens, I wanted to let people know, God bless all of our gardens. Why I put that up there is because I want God to bless our gardens, but I also want people to know that if they're stealing from the gardens, that we didn't want people to just walk in the gardens and take from other people's places, because we didn't want them to feel that this garden is just an open garden. It is an open garden for people to enjoy the walks, but a lot of people spend a lot of time and do a lot of expense in building community gardens. And we ask that unless the garden is open for folks to help themselves, that you do consider that you shouldn't do that, that these are private gardens, and the people that place the time and the money in them, that they deserve the gardens. And I'm going to jump up on the wall, see if I can get a little perspective of the whole visual. There you go. That's the community garden in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 50 wonderful vegetable gardens. It's actually won a lot of awards, and here's one of the awards. I should show you one of the awards because we are very happy. This garden is used as a mother garden to teach other communities around the city of Pittsburgh what gardening is, so that they then can start the gardens. And a really quite cute quote that was on here, it says, "Welcome to Old Allegheny Gardens, established 1982. Stroll and sniff. No picking or tasting. Stroll and sniff." That's exactly right. Don't think that you, without permission, that you can go into people's homes and take their TVs. You can't go into a garden and take people's products. And there's that beautiful fence again that was painted by a lot of beautiful young people that came to our garden. On that note, I will say thank you for being with us today. Here I am. I'm just going to jump around here for 1 second in the community garden. And I want to say thank you for visiting us at Old Allegheny Garden Society, established 1982. My name is Randy Gilson. I guess I'm the grandpap. But many people are now taking over the gardens. I have since been on sabbatical, and I'm moving forward to doing other art projects. And I am so happy that I have found so many hundreds of people that have such a joy of earth and a joy of vision to continue greenscaping in the city of Pittsburgh. And I want to thank you very much, one and all, for coming to Pittsburgh Old Allegheny Gardens. If you want to know more, you can Google Randyland Pittsburgh, and it will kind of give you a story of what the stories have been written if you want to know more information. And thank you very much. Have a good day. Wait a minute. I have one more interesting fact. Right across from the community garden is one of the most famous houses in the world. And I'm going to show you the house where the Ferris wheel was invented. Mr. Ferris lived in this house 200 years ago and built the Ferris wheel for the Chicago World's Fair. It was made, well, not made, it was designed in this house right across the street. Here we go. That's the house. That's the house that Mr. Ferris lived in when he was a young man working at a metallurgist in the city of Pittsburgh, and they needed to have something to represent the Chicago World's Fair. So I want to come up here and give you a wonderful house tour. Inventor of the Ferris wheel, 1893. There you go. Okay, again, goodbye. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in Pittsburgh. Come on over. Bye-bye.